November of 2024, binary. And on the other side, you've got someone who has said that if he were back in office, he would weaponize the Department of Justice. Someone who has said that they will go after their political enemies.
You remember the other day you were asking me what the definition of irony was?
It has been 1 month since Kamala Harris has completed her soft coup against Joe Biden and become the Democrat nominee. And of course, in that time frame, she has answered no questions, given no interviews, and therefore no one knows exactly what her platform is. What is she running on? How is she going to be any different or better than Joe Biden? And of course, this is all by design. She's going to campaign from the rally the same way that Joe Biden campaigned from the basement. She's going to go out and give speeches and then give no clarity onto anything she believes, which of course isn't necessarily a bad thing, because now we just have to go on all of her old statements that were very far left progressive and not very popular with the American people. However, is it going to pay off? I don't think so. Check this out over here from Fox News. We have another poll showing that Donald Trump is actually leading Kamala Harris 50-49. Now, I know a lot of people would say, oh, Fox News, that's a right-wing organization. And I'd say, well, you got to be careful there. They do have a lot of right-wing pundits, a lot of right-wing talent with their own shows, but the organization itself has been skewing surprisingly left. And they actually had Joe Biden up at several moments during their polling, even when Joe Biden was a complete crap fest. Okay, so you can't just come out and dismiss them out of hand. So now, of course, we have this Fox News poll, the Rasmussen poll, the Trafalgar poll, the CNBC poll, all of which pointing in the direction that, yeah, Kamala Harris had a little bit of a jump, but she is by no means winning against Donald Trump. And even in all those left-wing polls that show Kamala Harris trouncing Donald Trump, guess what? Who's still trusted more on the economy, on the border, on immigration, on inflation? It's still Donald Trump, even in those polls. And we're supposed to believe that other people are saying, yeah, we don't like Kamala Harris as much on all of these top issues, but we're still going to vote for her. It just doesn't really hold water. Of course, this is all going to be pointed out in tremendous fashion by Steve Doocy. Check this out.
That Vice President Harris wants to distance herself from Bidenomics.
Why do you think that?
Axios is now reporting that she is hoping to distance herself from President Biden's unpopularity on the economy. Can you blame her?
Do you know this is the Biden-Harris administration? Are you aware that this is the Biden-Harris administration? And she is indeed the vice president.
But if the president's policies on the economy were working, or if they were popular, wouldn't he still be the candidate?
You literally just had the chair of the CEA here who laid out a pretty robust point by point about the economy and what has happened under the Biden-Harris administration. And I thought it was pretty convincing. Look, as far as anything that the vice president wants to do, or as she's talking about her policy that's campaign related, you would have to speak to her. One thing that I know for sure is that this president, this vice president are fighting very hard to make sure that the middle class is stronger. They wanted to make sure that we're working to cut taxes for the middle class, for working people, slashing cost for working families, as you have seen them do over and over again. This is something that we believe in. You heard Jared talk about announcements this week about lowering cost, and that is something that they believe in. And the contrast could not be more stark between, if anything, the contrast is between what Republicans want to do, MAGAnomics. You're talking about Bidenomics. MAGAnomics supercharge inflation. That's what they want to do. Raise taxes on the middle class by thousands of dollars. Send tax cuts through the roof. Protect corporate price gouging. Cut Social Security. Cost millions their health care. And heap tax giveaways on billionaires and big corporations. That's the division there. That's where there's really night and day.
But would you admit, at least, that if Bidenomics was more popular, President Biden would still be...
I'm not going to get into polling. What I will tell you is Bidenomics has been something that both the president and the vice president has worked on.
Yeah, it's not Bidenomics, it's MAGAnomics, right? Remember 4 years ago when everything was really good, the economy was going gangbusters, and you were living a great lifestyle, having pay increases, able to save money? Oh yeah, but Bidenomics, Kamala Harris isn't trying to distance herself from that at all by taking Donald Trump's policy platforms. No, By no means. That's not happening. Trust me, everything out there is great. Don't believe your pocketbook. We finally got inflation down after raising it 30%. And of course, it's the rate of increase they're talking about. So we've still gone up that 30%, and now we're only up another 3.1% beyond that. And guess what? Donald Trump, during his presidency, never exceeded 2% inflation. Okay, so of course, they're going to brand this as Bidenomics, as if people are going to glom onto that and say, oh, you're right, stuff sucked under Trump, as opposed to Biden, what we're living through right now, and therefore Harris, because who's been at the helm? It has not been Joe Biden making the decisions, it has been someone else, and I doubt it was Harris as well, but the same puppeteers are going to be controlling her no matter what. So how is the Harris campaign going to combat all of this? Well, it's easy. We're going to have the WHO step in with another pandemic, but this time a pandemic of monkeypox. And guess what group of people monkeypox actually affects? Oh, it's the crazy nightclub grinding crowd, okay? But because it's so bad and so deadly, they're going to have to shut down all of the world right around election time. But of course, Donald Trump has a specific message for that as well, and it's golden.
The left-wing lunatics are trying very hard to bring back COVID lockdowns and mandates with all of their sudden fear-mongering about the new variants that are coming. Gee whiz, you know what else is coming? An election. They want to restart the COVID hysteria so they can justify more lockdowns, more censorship, more illegal drop boxes, more mail-in ballots, and trillions of dollars in payoffs to their political allies heading into the 2024 election. Does that sound familiar? These are bad people. These are sick people we're dealing with. But to every COVID tyrant who wants to take away our freedom, hear these words: we will not comply. So don't even think about it. Not shut down our schools. We will not accept your lockdowns. We will not abide by your mask mandates. And we will not tolerate your vaccine mandates. They rigged the 2020 election, and now they're trying to do the same thing all over again by rigging the most important election in the history of our country, the 2024 election.
Yes, never forget that the COVID mandates caused all of our grandparents to be locked away from their loved ones so they could pass away in peace without the loving embrace of those who actually cared about them, all right? That was the madness, the craziness that was actually brought about by all of this COVID lockdown nonsense. And as Donald Trump says, we will not comply, we will not forget, we will not let it happen. Now, I'm sure a lot of blue states will actually pull this off a second time if they want to, but the red states are done. However, I do want to discuss economic policy more than anything else. And we actually have a liberal TikToker come out and make the best case for Donald Trump by essentially saying all of his stances that he's promising the American people.
Wonder what Trump will actually do if he gets back into office? You don't have to speculate because he calls his plan Agenda 47. And spoiler alert, it's scary as shit. Here's some of the worst ideas we're in store for if he wins in November. 1. Attacking immigration. Trump's anti-immigration policies will be even worse the second time around. He's promised to end birthright citizenship, enlist an army to round up and deport millions of undocumented immigrants, and deploy thousands of U.S. troops to the southern border. 2. Criminalizing LGBTQIA plus Americans. Trump says he'll ban gender-affirming care for trans kids and prevent schools from helping kids through their transition. He wants to forbid schools from even teaching anything about sex and gender that diverges from the far right's idea of the nuclear family. 3. Overhauling education. Agenda 47 includes huge changes to the education system. He wants to give huge benefits for homeschooling to indoctrinate kids with Christian nationalism, incentivize teachers to carry guns in their classrooms, further crack down on affirmative action, and destroy crucial DEI departments at colleges and universities. 4. Restoring racist crime policies. Criminal legal system reform will be off the table if Trump becomes president. He promised to bring back racist policies like stop and frisk and other ineffective and discriminatory tough-on-crime tactics that have failed in the past. He also wants to increase protections for power-abusing police while rolling back hard-fought-for reforms and institute the death penalty for low-level crimes like drug dealing. 5. Weaponizing the government. The scariest part might be Trump's threat to more or less dismantle the federal government. If he gets back in office, he's going to purge anyone who could possibly stand up to him and replace them with MAGA loyalists like Stephen Miller. He's going to prosecute his political enemies using traditionally independent orgs like the DOJ as his own personal weapon and give himself unprecedented power over agencies like the FCC and FTC. These are just the things he wants you to know about. Trump has plenty of regular crazy stuff in Agenda 47 too, like how he wants to found new freedom cities across the country and somehow give Americans access to flying cars. The whole thing is weird as hell, like everything Trump does, but there's nothing funny about Agenda 47 or the possibility that he might be president again.
Wow, cracking down on illegal immigration, supporting the nuclear family, starting stop and frisk. These all sound like wonderful ideas to me. And guess what? Stop and frisk actually worked. That's why Bloomberg exploded the program, going well beyond its intended range, because it was so effective on stopping violent criminals. So yes, to her, this all sounds awful. Birthright citizenship? Oh no, they're going to take that away. But to everyone else with a functioning brain in America right now, they're like, yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. We could use a little more Donald Trump and a little less Kamala Harris. And speaking of Kamala Harris, the Trump campaign has put out a wonderful video tying her back to Bidenomics. Check this out.
Bidenomics is working. It's a term we're very proud of, I must tell you, because Bidenomics is working. It's working. Bidenomics. Bidenomics. And Bidenomics is working.